So I'm going to do some introspective rambling right now, something I don't usually do on this podcast. There's a certain feeling of what's the point? You know, as an artist, sometimes you go, what's the point? I mean, once you get past that inner push to create, but then other considerations come in, like who's ever going to hear it? Who cares? You know, one thing about the modern age, about these years we're in now, is it's the golden age of do-it-yourself. That's wonderful. I mean, here I am doing this podcast. It's really easy to record. But on the other hand, there are hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, putting out everything. And how much is any of that going to get heard, other than 2 or 3 friends who say, yeah, I'll listen to it. So there's that question. I mean, who's and thinking from the past, all the people, all the writers, musicians. Think of all the musicians who lived in ages when there was no recording equipment. Whoever the court musicians were in the 1600s and whatever piece of history you want to go to. Athens, 2,500 years ago. But on the other hand, just because we don't know who the people were then, and of course, what are we going to know about the millions and tens of millions of musicians who lived over the years and the writers and everything? It really comes down to you do what you do, and whoever partakes of it, and maybe there's something about just doing it, just getting it out there. I think about Warren Zevon. Sometimes the story is that he was told he had cancer and had a year to live. And he said, I'm going to make my last album. And he made his album, and apparently there were days he was in the studio, he could barely play, he was in so much pain and sick. But he did it. He was like, well, I'm going to die, I'm going to make one more album. And it's a good album. I can't think of the title of it right now, but anyway. I was going to talk about other considerations, such as I am an older musician, I'm in my 60s, and the chances of, fame and fortune and all this kind of stuff are pretty low. And, the old joke used to be on the cover of the Rolling Stone, but of course nobody reads magazines anymore. It's all internet, and people are famous for about, it used to be 15 minutes of fame. Now I think it's about, 15 seconds. So again, coming back to maybe the whole thing is just doing it. I know the last few years, there are some artists who don't care if they ever play, for people. They're happy just sitting and playing or sitting and recording or whatever they do. They don't care about playing live. I do care about playing live. And I'm not really sure how all that works anymore. And the truth is, I was never that sure of how all that worked. So this is kind of a rambling, just little insight to the guy who's playing these songs. On here, I might as well tell you a little bit about myself, that while I have played a number of gigs and parties and all that kind of stuff, for most of my life, the majority of my playing was as a street musician. A lot of that was because I was just bouncing around so much. I never found any place I really wanted to live that much for a lot of years. And there were times I spent several years here or several years there, but so that's been probably the majority of my playing. Also, there were times when I lived somewhere and I went and played gigs and I wasn't making any money. I was like, hell with this. I went out and played in front of an ice cream shop and made 5 times what I'd made playing in a restaurant or a coffee shop. I'm like, okay, yeah, and I don't even have to book it or do anything. I just show up and play. I don't know if that's viable anymore. I really don't know what is viable anymore, and I'm going to find it out. Because it's time to go play some music. So, okay, that was pretty rambling, and anyway, just a few insights into the mind of an aging musician. Okay, be well.